All right, let's go. I'm going to ask you a question as we do this.
I've been arm wrestling since
a sixth grade field trip.
Seriously, since I played Red Rover.
You start whenever you're ready. Kam, you do a lot of things. You're a wife, you're a mother, you're a business owner, you're a fitness instructor, you're a personal trainer, amongst other things. But that's just what you do. That doesn't really represent who you are.
Right.
And that's what I want to get to know.
I love the word complacent, and I've also leaned into the word uncomfortable a lot. Like, it's so easy to be comfortable in what you do, and I had a career that I was very comfortable in, the day-to-day, but I realized that day-to-day just wasn't who I am. It didn't light my soul on fire.
What's the biggest challenge you've faced as a parent so far?
That's a deep question. Are you ready for the plot twist?
Let's do it.
One day, I got an email. That job was completely taken away from me. But it was a pivotal moment, and I said, no, I rose to this point, and I'm gonna continue.
All right, let's rock and roll.
Okay.
Welcome to the Barbells and Bourbon podcast, where the conversations are raw, real, and relatable. I am your big, bald, bearded, barbell lifting, bourbon drinking son of a bitch, Shaun. And joining me today is Kam Niskach.
Not bald.
But you're a lot of the rest.
I like a lot of the rest, though.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. Kam, welcome to our home.
Thank you.
Been looking forward to conversation. We've had this scheduled for quite a while now.
For sure.
Feels like
Thank
time
you
has
for
stood
having
still,
me.
but yeah. Kam, you do a lot of things. You're a wife, you're a mother, you're a business owner, you're a fitness instructor, you're a personal trainer, amongst other things.
Yeah.
But that's just what you do. That doesn't really represent who you are.
Right.
And that's what I want to get to know, is who you are, because there's more to you than those things.
Yeah.
With all of those experiences that you have, with all
Yeah.
of those things, what is one thing you want the viewer to get out of our conversation today?
It's such a great question to lead off with, because I usually like to lean into my hats, or like what I call my capes, my superhero capes. But down at the core, I really think that my story is deeper than that. And I think that I want the viewer to know that, like, we're all writing our own book and our own story. And I've leaned into being on a journey, and a lifelong journey. And I've had many doors close, but I think that's really cliche. And I really don't want to talk about the doors closing. I actually like to refer to each chapter. So I have beginning chapters, but if you don't hold the pen to take yourself to the next chapter, then that door or that chapter might remain closed.
Yeah.
So I think through my journey as a 46-year-old mom, entrepreneur, business owner, blah, all the things, I've learned that I had to take control, live with intention, and write my own book.
Yeah.
And be in control of my own journey, with each chapter that ends determining with intention where my next focus will lie. Am I going to be able to turn the page for myself, for my family? But it's ultimately up to me. And I think writing our own stories and telling our own journeys is ultimately what I want people to understand from this, because you have a book, I have a book, and you know that your book is ongoing.
There's a lot of people that just want to stop writing, and they're content with that.
For sure. Yes.
Which is fine, but there's
Yes.
so much more to life than just kind of like being complacent.
I love the word complacent, and I've also leaned into the word uncomfortable a lot. Like, it's so easy to be comfortable in what you do, and I had a career that I was very comfortable in, the day-to-day, but I realized that day-to-day just wasn't who I am. It didn't light my soul on fire, and I'm a very much light your soul on fire type of passionate person, so I needed to lean into a little bit more of an uncomfortable feeling to see what I truly was made of and what I was supposed to bring to this world, so then I could help other people.
I love it. So back to the book analogy.
Yeah.
How many chapters do you think your book is, and what chapter are you on?
Well, I do believe the book was pretty normal all the way through high school. I think college becomes a new chapter. Postgraduate school. I'm 46 years old right now. So, we might be on chapter like 15, 16. And I think there's probably been about 6 to 7 plot twists where really I had to take the pen and grab it and decide what I wanted my future to be. And it could have went either way.
I'm here for the plot twist. I love a plot twist.
Yeah.
Well, I do love that. That's a great message because I think we're all writing our own stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's story is different. And until you give someone the opportunity to tell it, you really have no idea what they've been through. And pretty much everyone that sits in your seat, Cam, tells me before they come here, I'm not that interesting. Mm-hmm. Because their life is normal to them, because that's all they know.
Sure.
But once you peel those layers back, not to get more cliche, it's so
true.
crazy how interesting people are.
It is so true. And I do think like our stories are it's what defines us.
Yeah.
And I think that we can, hide behind the covers and not tell anybody. And I just want to like lean into social media a little bit. When I started on social media, it was about 13 years ago because I didn't have social media until I started my business. I used it as a journal. So again, like the tool to write. And it was easier back then because people were actually interested in what you wrote. Now you have to worry about algorithms and all this stupid stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's still part of my accountability.
Yeah.
So a lot of the things that I post and a lot of the things that I share, it's because maybe I want to look back 5 years from now and see where I was and where I'm going and where I landed. So I think like that's really something that, you don't need to be vulnerable and share to the whole world, but sometimes it helps.
And guess what, Cam? You're going to be holding yourself accountable from this episode because you're documenting where you are right now.
100%.
And you've said that you're not done writing. So you can look back at this
I am
in
not
10, 20 years and just say, look how far I've come.
Yeah, I think that that's key in the chapter that I'm on right now as a 46-year-old woman who really has a lot of female followers. I hate that word, but people that are part of my community.
That's your target audience.
It's my community,
Yeah.
and that's who I lean into. But I want to share and teach that, like, we're not done yet.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I have a lot of life to live, and I want to remain like moving forward and not stall and not. I don't know. I want to break the mold of what people think that women are going to be in their 60s or
Let's go.
70s. Yeah.
Well, you're only halfway to 92.
Yeah, and that's
So,
not, I got
who's
like
counting?
we're like 105 right here. You heard it. That's the goal.
All right, Cam. So the woman that sits here today is the woman because of past experiences.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to kind of build the story from is what created you. Now, we know what you do, but I want to know who you are. So if we can kind of step back in time, like where are you from originally?
I actually grew up in Weirton, West Virginia.
Okay.
Small town girl. Yeah, I'm an only child with great, amazing parents that taught me to like dream big. Like we like led and like leaned into the Disney motto from a young age. And but my dad was a steel mill worker, very normal.
collar.
Yeah, very blue collar. I've always loved sports. Played sports in high school. It's what led me to my career as a physical therapist. I thought I was going to help all athletes. And later on in life, the plot twist has led me back to that.
Mm-hmm.
But there were many chapters in between. So yeah, small town girl, Weirton. I went to college at Duquesne and studied physical therapy, 4 years undergrad, have a master's degree. I went on to get my doctorate degree and worked in the hospital system for a total of about 9 years.
What did you do there?
It's a really good question because only for the first year did I practice physical therapy, traditional physical therapy. I've always been somebody that was willing to color a little bit outside the lines. There was a job opening and you're going to be like, wow. It actually showed up in the Post-Gazette because that's the time when you looked for jobs in the classified ads and you highlighted the ones you were interested in.
I remember those days.
Right? Showing our age. Clinical Neurophysiologist was the title, and it was seeking a healthcare professional with a advanced doctorate level degree willing to train, and it stated its salary.
Yeah, sorry, that's like spinal and cervical.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So a clinical neurophysiologist, what I did for 7 years of my life was I worked in the operating room, and I worked in spine surgeries, hip surgeries, any surgery that, actually a lot of brain surgeries, some traumatic cases, any surgery that put the nervous system at risk. I was the person that used EMG or electromyographical studies I had a computer to help the anesthesiologist, help the surgeon know that they weren't compromising the spine or the leg or
No pressure.
No pressure. We could go deeper into that, but it really was for the assist of the surgeon. And I actually loved that job because it was new and it was exciting. And working in surgery was, you never got the same thing twice. And I got to know my group of surgeons that I worked with very well. I actually traveled from hospitals all in the Pittsburgh area. So I went from AGH was like our home base, but I went as far as like Fox Chapel, St. Margaret's to Washington, PA, Washington. So like it was fun.
Yeah.
And then, I took call with that job. So taking call is hard, and you realize that your hours are not your hours.
They are completely up in the air and not up to you.
No. But the plot twist goes during that time, so I was a clinical neurophysiologist, plus I taught group exercise classes.
At the same time.
At the same time. But I always fought to get to my 5 p.m. or 7 p.m. class. And then I would have to call in a sub a lot of times for my 5 p.m. because I couldn't get out of my case. And that kind of started to eat at me because all I wanted to do was be in front of a room and teach group fitness and make $15 an hour.
So this is just like for fun.
That was my fun job.
That's your passion.
But
That was your
it lit
passion.
me up inside, and I loved every bit of teaching group fitness. So then as the years went on, I tried to, so I consider myself sitting in the corner of an operating room because that's what I did. I sat back with anesthesia, and I started to write again, what is my exit strategy? How am I going to be a fitness trainer, group fitness instructor full time?
I would love to hear how you did that because I struggled. So not that this is about me, but I want to kind of share because we kind of relate to each other in a lot of ways.
A little
I think.
bit, yeah.
I have my own personal training business that I started about 3.5 years ago. And about a year into it, my goal was to make that my career. I didn't want to report to anybody anymore. I didn't want to have anybody else dictate how much money I made and what my hours were, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
It is so hard to do that, though. And I spent a lot of money to try to learn how to do that.
Yes.
Thousands of dollars.
Yes.
Which didn't pan out.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it's such a competitive market to be in.
100%.
And building your brand and finding what your identity is and what makes you different than everybody else.
Yeah.
And it was kind of exhausting.
Are you ready for the plot twist?
Let's do it.
So I decided to resign from my job in the operating room, took on a home care physical therapy job because it was more flexible. Home care physical therapy, I could set my hours, tell my patients when I could come into their house and see them, but I could also work a little bit more on my fitness business. A very integral part of my story that I left out was that at that time I had my daughter. So she's now 13, and I am very family oriented and family focused. And the passion for fitness was lit underneath the fire to be a work from home mom and to actually have more presence and more time with her.
More flexibility.
More flexibility. So I'm just going to share because I think a lot of you may relate. Late night infomercial. And I dove into insanity, which was complete insanity. So, but here's my plot twist. I started insanity, got a crazy transformation of my own. I was still teaching group fitness classes that were not that, but I ended up going and joining the company Beachbody, and I made network marketing work for me because I actually do believe that I did network marketing right, and I will stand on that to the end. I built a team, hundreds of people. We had a huge community. We did a lot of things together, and through Beachbody, they actually ended up giving me a stage. Another chapter in that story is that I flew out to Arizona without telling anybody but my parents and my husband, and I auditioned to become a master trainer for the company. So a master trainer is their regional presenter that helps train other trainers. So I was a trainer to the trainers, and I was like, with my background in physical therapy and with what I know in fitness and my passion, that's what I want to do. I was hired on by the company to be a master trainer, so that elevated my stage because from master trainer and training other trainers, I grew a bigger community, a wider audience. And then I was presented with an opportunity to be in their fitness videos. So I was a Beachbody master trainer that now was filming videos and got to fly out to California every other month and be in video production. I was like living the dream.
Yeah, I was going to say the dream started to come true.
That is the dream. And I did that for a good 5 years. I rose to the top of the master trainer status, like not even, but one day I got an email And that company just took away all their master trainers. Budget, corporate decision. So I was able to step away from my job as a physical therapist. I leaned into Beachbody full time. And one day, that job was completely taken away from me. And then I had to figure it out. And that's where I think I do hold the pen, because a lot of the people may just say, okay, go back to physical therapy. That's what you're made to do. But it was a pivotal moment. And I said, no, I rose to this point and I'm going to continue.
Yeah, no one's going to take that away from me.
And so that's when I built my own brand off of this stage that they provided me. And that's what a lot of people see today.
Gotcha. So before we dig into that, how did you build up your team of hundreds within Beachbody? Like, what's the secret to that? Not to give away the secret sauce,
I'm not sure, but from a very early stage as a group fitness instructor, I had a big audience, and I don't know why. Like, people joke so much about me teaching at LA Fitness, but people had to get a poker chip to be able to come into my group fitness classroom.
So it was like standing room only?
It really was, because it was max capacity fire code.
Wow.
And I don't know what it was, or I taught a very fun dance cardio based class. But then when I left LA Fitness, because plot twist, they actually let me go because I was a little bit too much for that business.
Really?
Yeah. So then I went on and I went to another gym and people followed me there. And then we decided to hold events within the community of Pittsburgh. And we would, have an event where the Doubletree and Green Tree or something, and people would go. And I always made fitness fun. And it was never about the money. Fitness was never about the money.
Yeah.
So for me, I've always had something on the side that provided the income. And fitness has always been the driver. And it's just who I am.
That's so crazy. I mean, that says a lot about you as a trainer, that people would follow you from gym to gym and event to event, and just they're committed to you. And
I am so grateful for the community that I have. And I think I can look at the women, mostly women, that are with me today that take my virtual classes, because COVID plot twist, I don't teach in a gym anymore. It's the same women that came to my classes 13, 15 years ago.
That
We're
is
all still
crazy.
friends. And you know
Wow.
what? I've created a web. I don't know if I've created it, but we've created a web, because now they're friends with each other, and now they lean into each other, and we're all good friends. And, now we do, I have an event coming up at the end of this month, and it's called my turkey burn, but we're all going to get back together. And that's what I'm calling it. It's a reunion party, like the band's getting back together, because I don't do it all the time now, just because of my life and where different directions that it's led me.
Well, you said community. I think that's really the word here that you've built, right? It wasn't a job. It's not like your clients. You've built a community and probably a family.
100% my family. And I call them my crew affectionately with a K.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I love my crew.
So you stop Beachbody, that's ripped away from you. And then you kind of start your own little thing.
Yeah.
What's the name of what you do in your business, your training business?
My training business is Jamz Fitness. Kam Jamz, because everything I've done has always been like music background. I love me an 8 count, and even though I'm leaning more into functional training and strength-based training and getting women to lift these days, I still have that passion for the dance fitness class that started it all.
Yeah. Are you still taking on new clients?
I actually teach 2 times a week virtually, so I have 2 class on Monday and a class on Friday. But what I didn't tell you, because my book is long.
Yeah.
I still train the trainer. So that job that was quit from Beachbody, I created my own brand called Metkon RX. And Metkon RX is metabolic conditioning, but the con is with the K, and the RX is for my healthcare background. But I create programming for different instructors. And I have about a team of hundreds of instructors, about 200, but they're international, that are teaching my branding. So Metkon RX is not just being taught by myself Mondays and Fridays, but there's so many people that are delivering that class, my programming, to other people.
So you created your own programming within Beachbody.
Because that's what I did with Beachbody. I was the Beachbody P90X live format expert.
Okay.
So I created programming with the help of a team for the P90X live brand. And then I filmed the programming for that brand. But then when that was stripped away from me, I had a community, again, of instructors that trusted me. And those instructors, they didn't have any more programming. So they had a job at the gym to go teach a class, but they were no longer having the programming to teach it. So I always find that I can fill maybe a little bit of a void. find a need and be able to serve.
Yeah.
And that's what I've really leaned into these days. So they needed programming and they trusted me. They could have went any which way because there's a lot of that out there. But that's how Metkon RX came to be.
I was going to ask, like, how hard was it to get into the Beachbody brand within your own brand? Was there like legal things you had to jump through? And
Yeah, like so compliance never really did become an issue because they always said you were your own brand, and I was able to kind of juggle all the things because I continued to teach my classes, but at home I would work out with the trainers. I never really, well, I will say, towards the end, I stopped taking the Beachbody supplements, and a lot of people do know that. And then that's when another door opened for me and a new chapter started as well. It's just one thing after another, but I'm so grateful for all of it. I don't even know.
it's crazy how one thing is leading to another. And speaking of supplements, and it's kind of lurking in the darkness behind us, you have your own electrolytes up there.
I do.
And it's sitting on top of a Project One electrolytes.
Which is so kind of you.
Being on top. Well, yeah, I mean,
the juxtaposition is real.
Right. So we kind of, we talked on the phone the other day for, 15 minutes, just so I can briefly get to know something about you. And we
didn't even touch the surface, did we?
No. And you did sort of drop a little nugget that there is a relationship between you and some of the founders of Project One Nutrition.
Yeah.
So how did that all happen, and where did you start with that?
In 2018, I was approached by Mike Roten and Pat Williams, and it was almost as if they were like giving me a golden nugget, and I didn't even believe it at the time, but they were asking me to create a supplement company with them, and they already had a thriving company, and they already had an amazing athlete, but it was almost going to be like the sister brand, the chic, the lifestyle, and not the, the other meathead, said affectionately, because I believe I'm a meathead in a different way. Yeah. And I think that they saw my community, and they leaned into me. And crazy enough, I drug my feet for a while because it was almost that whole thing with compliance. I didn't know if people were going to trust me. I didn't know if I would be able to juggle it all and do both things. Because at the time, I was still very much a part of Beachbody.
Okay.
And it was a dream opportunity. So in 2018, K-POW Nutrition came to be.
I'm going to have a lot of links to put in the description of this video with all of your stuff. But so shall we?
Let's do it.
Here, I want yours.
That's awesome.
And you can have theirs.
Yay. We're, supplements. Yeah. Meathead corner here.
Right. Not typically. That's not the right word to use here.
Let's do it justice.
Yeah. I have 60 some bottles of bourbon behind us, and I do share bourbon with some of my guests who want or are willing to drink. You chose not to, which is perfectly respectable. So thanks for bringing your own supplement that we can try. What flavor? Pink lemonade.
It's pink lemonade. So we're trying electrolytes.
Yes.
And this is their hydrate, replenish, and energy.
It's the mixed berry flavor.
Within mixed berry.
Don't use a full scoop because you only have like 4 ounces of water in there.
For sure. So this is important for you meatheads.
Shameless plug.
90 servings. That's why it's bigger. Bigger is not always better though. But 90 servings, 30 servings. But I wouldn't say that. So you get a lot from the Project One.
You do. So I'm going to card Pat Williams' episode right up there because he was a guest.
Hi, Pat. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, that's appropriate to be thanking him, I guess. These are almost going to be the exact same color from my experience.
Yeah, and one thing, I'm not sure about Project One, I can only speak for K-POW, but we're very much big on clean ingredients. That's why I chose to start the company. So the coloring is actually beetroot. Everything is all natural, and there's no artificial flavors in any of our products.
Oh, frothy. All right. Let's hydrate.
Let's hydrate.
Cheers.
It's good. It's great.
That's good. It's very good.
Yeah, I could drink this for sure.
So did Pat formulate yours as well?
You know what? I thought about that after we had talked. You know, Pat had already left K-POW, and electrolytes came a little bit down the line. But he did formulate one of the best-selling products, which is called Bang, and it was kind of modeled off of Amino Energy. So it has a branched-chain amino acid, caffeine, plus electrolytes, and Bang does really good. And we do Bang with 2 A's. But
So it's an amino with stimulant.
amino with stim.
I like it.
It's one of my best sellers and started in 2018 when the company started. I started with 3 products. I probably have a library about 20 now. Yeah.
Do you have a warehouse?
Yeah. Oh, well, the warehouse used to be right down the road here, as we all know. But I do have
not all of us, but some of us.
I love this part of my story. My new warehouse is in Weirton, West Virginia. Do you remember where I grew up?
I do. You just told me like 25 minutes ago.
Yeah. So full circle. My warehouse is in Weirton, and it's with my warehouse manager, great friends of mine. At a really pivotal moment, another chapter. It was right before Christmas. Right before Christmas, I got a call that Mike was leaving the company. So then it was like I had a decision to make. So I'm so grateful for my other partners. They said I had 3 months to figure it out. They were going to hold me for 3 months, January, February, March of this year. And, but at that time, they were no longer going to house the supplements, but they pretty much were like, we believe in you and we know you could do this. And I had to figure out if I really did believe in myself.
So how much work is involved in running your own supplement company, like actively?
Yeah, there's a lot of behind the scenes.
Yeah.
It's intense because I don't have a business background. I've always been passionate about fitness, health, and people, and I am leaning into others to help me manage the business side of it. And I kind of know where my strengths are and when to delegate and when to have other people help me as far as the accounting, the taxes, all that stuff.
Okay.
I do have help, and I have great people on the team.
What about marketing wise? Do you have a team that does that?
Yeah, so I had a team that did that, and this year I've had to figure that out a lot on my own. And I just recently leaned in and hired some people to help me. I have now an intern and somebody that's doing my marketing. And I'm learning that, like, even though I want to wear the superhero cape and do all the things, it's really hard for me to delegate. But that's the key to success. Like, and it's not my strength. Marketing is not my strength.
Yeah.
But
I was going to say, I mean, to relinquish a lot of that control and trust someone with that, I'm sure is not easy.
No, it's not, but it's been a blessing to be able to like let my shoulders down and do the part that I love. The part that I love about the supplement company, especially for the clientele that I'm attracting, is that not a lot of people understand it because they do believe it's for meatheads. But I think in our growing age, me like, you know, on that tail end, back half of 40, as we get older, we need a little bit of, I call them tools in the toolbox. So like my toolbox is getting a little bit heavy, but I think that's a good thing. And really, I don't want people to buy my supplements. I actually want them to understand it and know the why. So like I do a lot of time and I spend a lot of time educating, but that goes back to my schooling, the physical therapy, like understanding the body, how the body works, and how really our energy is what's going to determine how we feel. Yeah. And I lean into the feels of supplements a lot. Like you're not going to feel it right away. Yeah. But
with consistent use,
just like anything else in life.
Yeah. So it's funny you mentioned like, you know, meatheads and supplements. I think the stigma around supplements has changed a lot in the recent years. I mean, we're the same age. You're actually older than me, not counting, but I just went there. But, you know, I remember the days where, you know, creatine was like, oh, is that a steroid? And like protein, oh my God, protein shakes. You're like,
100%.
I want to be natty. I can't take like, it's almost comical.
It's so comical. And I am going to share, I blew my freaking creatine launch out of the water this year because I educated the crap on it. There is so much research and science-based evidence on creatine, and I leaned into all of it and educated mostly women on how creatine not only can help us perform, feel better, cognitive, all the things. And creatine is one of my best sellers right now. And I have a lot of women that are using it.
It's one of those supplements that anyone and everyone should take because the research behind it has been proven to be effective.
Yeah, and let's just be real honest with each other. I'm sure my creatine's not any better than your creatine because creatine's creatine. People.
Creatine's. Yeah.
But if you like me, you can buy my creatine.
We're not, I don't want to battle over whose creatine you should buy.
No, but
discount
that's
code BTC10.
K-POW Nutrition. That's the truth, though. And I just think that that's where the industry is. And we talked a little bit about that. Like, I'm always going to be friends with Pat and Mike, and like they got my start. And I'm really like we have to have an abundant mindset in this industry, whether it's fitness, whether it's nutrition, because I do think like working together, we can all rise. And I think that once we start competing with each other, then it becomes a little bit, as my daughter would say, ick. Like, we don't want that.
Yeah, there's a lot of that from what I've heard within my circle, a lot of competition when it comes to that. But, you know, I know the owners of Project One, they aren't like that. They're very,
I would agree.
We
with
want to
you.
help others
Right.
succeed and rise to the top, and they'll share their, you know, I don't want to say secrets, but
No,
yeah.
and because I know
Very
them,
collaborative.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get into what is your actual lifestyle beyond like what you do. So let's talk about your family a little bit. I know you're married.
Yes.
Tell me about how that all happened.
So actually, interesting enough, so I said I went to Duquesne, and so did my husband, but we did not date or get together at Duquesne. He was a baseball player. He's actually a pharmacist, so he does have the normal like job. He like people I think are wired differently. He likes that routine and structure, and so funny. We played co-ed softball together, like years after school. So, you know, one of those, he's very competitive, shocking, because I'm a little bit competitive myself.
Yeah.
But there's probably one of the only leagues that he played in with females, and who knows if it was to meet his wife or whatnot, but he hasn't really played in a co-ed league since. So
He got what he wanted out of it.
Who knows? But that's how I met my husband. And, you know, we had a lot of fun we did a lot of sports travel, and we went to like different stadiums, watched a lot of away Steeler games. He took me to San Diego to watch a Pirate series, and we didn't go to one game. I went to 3 Pirate games.
The whole series.
The whole
Dang.
series.
I'm guessing we didn't sweep.
No, I know,
Yeah,
for sure
probably
not.
not.
Not back in that day. But then things changed when we had Kendall. Kendall's my daughter, and she's 13. And I like to use her as my timestamp marker because that's when my chapter really began. So that's when I found my passion. And that's when I discovered she became my why power. And, you know, everything started to revolve around her. I grew up as an only child, and my mom was always home with me. And I kind of wanted to be able to provide that, but also to be able to work at the same time. And so I had to figure that out. And I think, like, all roads have led me here. Now this 13-year-old, which is crazy, is a little athlete of her own. She plays, my life revolves around her travel sports. So there's school sports, and then there's what we call crazy parents who pay for travel sports.
Yes.
And I mean, I get it.
I'm one of them.
Yeah, right. Yeah. If you don't, like, you're behind. You have to.
Right? Yeah.
Don't
What are you
get
thinking?
behind.
Yeah.
So she plays travel soccer. She's one of the only people that manages a soccer and a softball schedule because they're all 365.
Yeah.
Everything's the same season these days.
Yeah.
But we talk to her all the time. We're like, I know you're really lucky that you're the only one, or we might not be able to do this. So right now my life revolves a lot around her schedule. I also have, I don't know how this all happened, but even before COVID, I started training a high school soccer team, and it was actually the Montour High School boys soccer team. I had a network there, and I trained them for 2 to 3 years. COVID happened, and then it was like that job kind of went away. And then 3 years ago, I was asked to be a part of my own community. Now I help coach and train like the Moon High School athletes. I started with one team. It was the Moon Boys team 3 years ago, and this summer I had 3 teams. So I trained the Moon Boys soccer team, the girls soccer team, and the girls volleyball team. Never realized how much I would freaking love that.
Training the younger generation and just sort of being able to see them evolve as young adults and, you know, in the fitness space.
And I think help educate them too.
Yeah.
Like, I love to teach somebody how to squat and deadlift, and they just need to learn that those functional movement patterns are going to help them all throughout life. And we talk a lot about nutrition. The coach trusts me, and I'm able to really help them understand the why. So that's been pretty cool. I don't have much downtime, if that's what you're asking.
You didn't even need to tell me that because I already know.
But I love to lift, like for my own. Like I love to train. I train at home. I don't belong to a gym. We kind of built our downstairs, like we call it like the man cave. But I'm part of the man cave. I have a little studio. Like this is like awesome. But my studio is my home gym, and it's where I train daily. I do a lot of dumbbell training, but that's where I create, and I like to be a creative. So my training leads into the programming that I end up, whether it's teaching or giving to other instructors. But that's my downtime, and I love that.
Well,
Like,
being that you're so busy, having a gym at home is super convenient.
love it.
Yeah. So I need to ask, how do you train a volleyball player and a soccer player? What's the difference, if any?
I love that. So I actually do think there's not so much difference, but the volleyball, I actually really enjoyed training the whole body. So, and I think there's a lot of power involved in volleyball. So we did a lot of overhead. I taught them how to clean. It was the first time that they actually learned a power move coming from their hips. I'm really big on first step acceleration, whether it's volleyball or soccer. So I'm teaching the kids that their hip hinge will drive power.
Yeah.
If you want to be fast, you got to do the things and like understand how your body works.
Yeah.
And I try to use cues that like help them remember to be able to do that.
Do you have a CrossFit background at all?
I don't, but I love cross. Like I
'Cause
feel
there's a lot of that.
a lot of people say that my classes or my training style reminds them of CrossFit. And you know what? I need to go in a box because I need to just try it. I've never even tried it.
It
I'm
sounds
a
like
little
you're
intimidated, but
pretty much like ready for it.
yeah,
Based
but,
upon your experience.
But yeah, I would love that.
Yeah.
But all in all, training a volleyball player is not that much different than training a soccer player. But I do think I did a little bit more upper extremity, a little bit more shoulder. Whereas the soccer, I really got to focus on squats, hinges, really just lunges, functional movement patterns, drives.
Okay. Another question. How do you train an adult versus a teenager as
I
far as
love
like,
that.
mentally kind of getting to them?
So I'm the intense trainer, and my classes are not, quote, easy. And I don't modify. However, I give people options. I hate the word modification, and I've said it a lot, but I will give you 5 options to do this power jump or squat jump or get up off the floor. You can do it any way you want, but I'm going to teach you how to do it, and I want you to be successful at it. For a teenager, I'm going to challenge them and try to make that movement a little bit more fun.
Okay.
So we're going to do something like one of my favorite things to do with the teams are they start laying on their belly and we do sprint runs, but then they have to come back, jump over the person and then do another sprint run. But they love that because they love running into each other and jumping over each other.
Sure.
And so
It's a simple thing.
yeah, so teenagers, you just make it fun
Yeah.
and make them want to do it. And adults, you make them believe that they can do it. I think that they need to get success and they need to get like little wins throughout the day. And if they can have that win, like I have people tell me all the time, I didn't think I'd ever be able to do that. I didn't think I'd ever be able to lift that. I'm so over neoprene dumbbells these days, and I want all women to get rid of them. Like we need to lift
Ones on the
heavy.
little A-frames.
Yeah, right? Heavy shit. Like I can say it here. I
Pink
know.
ones
Yeah,
and
right?
the turquoise ones.
No pink and turquoise here. Like let's start lifting heavy, females. Like, women, that's where it's at.
It's all about the meathead status.
Total meathead. I don't want a man's help. Like we're gonna do it.
How much pushback do you get from teenagers? Like, what's this lady trying to tell me to do? Like, I'm not going to let her, because I know the mental maturity with teenagers, kids are tough.
That was my biggest thing entering, and I took it as a challenge. And right now, I can say pretty confidently I've earned their respect.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool to know the relationship that we have. I also consider myself they not only have a trainer, but they have a mama bear. And I think that that's kind of where I stand differently. And you said it, there's a gender difference. I believe I'm one of the only female trainers that's entered Moon High School. But I've also taken that on as a little challenge, and to be able to separate the gap between a male trainer and a female trainer. And I do think it's especially important for those female teams, and they can lean into somebody. And I hope that I'm empowering them to one day, know that there's no limit and they can do that too.
How do you separate training them physically versus understanding them as people and kind of being there? You said you're a mama bear. How do you take on all of that with all of these kids?
Yeah, so you kind of lean into the ones that are going to lean into you. I think as a master trainer for Beachbody, it taught me how to have a wide audience, but coach to one. And I think that's one of my big strengths. And not all the kids are going to come to me after, but 4 or 5 will. And those are the ones you lean into. Those are the ones that need that little extra love. And the other ones, they might not just be ready, but you continue to give to them. And when they are, the door will be open. But I don't push to be the mama bear, but I think that I give them the feeling that I care. And I think that they know that if they did need something, I would be right there with them.
I love that. I noticed on one of your Instagram stories recently, you were at a soccer game.
Yeah.
Was that Moon?
It was Moon.
Okay.
Yeah, we actually, last night, when we're recording today, they won the Whitfield Championship. So, hi, Mark. And the coolest part about that is those kids, I've seen them from sophomores, juniors, and seniors. They have 13 seniors this year. I trained all 13 of those kids as they were sophomores. So it is a family. So we've kind of rose up, and they just won the Whitfield Championship. But those boys aren't done yet. They actually have state playoffs now.
That must make you really proud. To be part of that.
It makes me really proud that their coach actually trusts me to be a part of that, because I'm not the trainer or the coach that sits on the sidelines, but I was invited down on that field and given a medal last night, and like that.
That's so cool.
So, it meant the world to me, not to have the medal, but just to know that I had the respect of the team and the boys, and they came up to me after I'm like this girl, 46-year-old girl, like they're coming up to me, like we're high-fiving and hugging, but like it brought me back to my glory days. Yeah. Like, because it all started playing sports.
See your eyes welling up a little bit. I can see it means a lot to you.
It does. I love that.
That's good. So beyond coaching teenagers, coaching adults, what's your next kind of goal when it comes to fitness training? Or have you kind of reached the end of that chapter?
I don't believe I have. I have goals, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to fill them. But I want to. So I have some big goals. I think that writing a program, not just for instructors, but a program for the general population on what I do on my day-to-day, like a kind of a split. And I like to be behind the camera kind of, so videoing that program so they could have a push day or a pull day, and then they could have a Metkon day, which gives them that HIIT training. But I want it to be all laid out. Like, I actually would love down the road to write that, and I guess I just said it here first.
All right, Kam. Neurophysiology, we're taking a step back in our conversation. I kind of relate to that right now. I'm dealing with some cervical issues. I have a herniated disc between my C6, C7 vertebrae.
I was going to ask, okay, C6, C7.
In your experience, and I'm kind of trying to get free advice here. Like, what's like the most common path to kind of get over that kind of issue?
Yeah, so I'm not giving him medical advice.
She's not a doctor.
I am not a doctor. Just like roll the disclaimer.
Right. Yes.
But C6-7, you're like, we already had this conversation, but I will tell everybody we're too young. And that goes back to like us like living and wanting to do all the things that we want to do. Because I know you don't want to stop right now. You're not going to stop lifting. You're not going to stop doing overhead movements. You're not going to stop doing.
Actually, I have stopped doing overhead movements.
But you want to get it back, right?
Yeah, oh my gosh, yeah.
That's absolutely your goal.
Yeah.
So physical therapy is the conservative route, and I know a lot about that. And you could do like the basic.
Yeah. I mean, so how does PT vary from me just going to the gym and working out?
Yeah, PT's an exercise prescription though, and I do think that leaning into the professional there is very helpful, because then they have other modalities, so then they can give you modalities, and they'll do a testing. So is your shoulder flexion weak? Are you restricted because of the C6-7 nerve root that's causing the weakness? And where is it coming from? Is it specifically in what we call a dermatomal pattern, or is it more your deltoid? Is your bicep assisting in that, because the bicep attaches over the shoulder? So they would do a very thorough assessment to actually prescribe the exact exercises. Okay. Physical therapy exercises aren't fun because they're the little accessory movements that people don't do in the gym. But that's what makes physical therapy unique.
Right.
But I was telling you earlier, since I did work in spine surgery, a C6-7 anterior approach spinal fusion has pretty much, it's normal these days. And now, when that job was about 8 years ago for me, but I know that they were using little prosthetic discs, and the surgery did not take long at all. Okay. It was a pretty easy, straightforward procedure. And somebody like me would be monitoring your nerve roots to make sure you came out, because I know somebody like you does tend to lean into complications.
Yep, it's happened a lot.
So you would be, hopefully protected.
Yeah.
The only, I think, the thing that you would need to be aware of is that they do say in cervical procedures, down the road, the level above and the level below may start to herniate as well.
Got it.
But that's normal, and it could do it right now just because you already have the C6-7.
And I haven't been able to start PT because of everything else that's been going on.
So how much weakness or loss of sensation do you have?
Well, my index and middle fingers have been pins and needles and or numb for probably 2.5 months.
So that follows the C6-7 pattern that we were just talking. That's that dermatoma pattern, so that makes sense.
Right now, as I sit here, I have a pretty intense pain in my left shoulder blade area. So like my lower trap, and it radiates down my left arm.
And that's referred pain, which is definitely normal too. And you're probably going to get a lot more pain as it progresses and goes on because you're going to start to not even realize the compensatory patterns that you're using for everyday life.
Yeah. And the biggest issue I'm having is the atrophy in my left arm.
100%.
My left tricep is probably 40% smaller than my right, just because of the weakness that has come with that nerve damage.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, so the spine herniation, you get two little discs and you have this cushion part in the middle. That's your disc, and his is pushing out and on the nerve root. So what the surgeon would do would be to remove and eliminate that part that's causing you all these problems that you just described, and then they would replace it with something else.
Yeah. It's frustrating.
But I also do believe in second opinions too. So like if you go see a surgeon, I would tell you to go see another.
I already have it booked.
Done.
Saw one, booked it for another one. Because I want to hear. Yeah, I want to hear someone else's opinion.
Shop around for that.
Yeah, it's a pretty important thing to shop for, right?
Absolutely. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to give you any advice. I just think that I don't want you to continue to live like how you are right now.
Yeah, I've been dealing with it, and I know there's a lot of people watching that just deal with day-to-day pains and discomforts, and it doesn't have to be that way.
It doesn't, and it depends on your lifestyle and what you ultimately want to do. And I think we already said it, like we don't want to be comfortable.
Yeah.
And you're obviously not comfortable at all.
No.
But
Can't lay on my back, can't lay on my stomach. It's really annoying. Now, men, stop being so damn difficult and stubborn, because, I was always the guy who, if I felt something off or a pain, I'd just rub some dirt on it or stretch or just go to the gym and I slept wrong or you know what I mean? Like there's always some dumb excuses to why you're feeling those things. But I've learned over the last 2 months, don't just rub dirt on it. Ask an expert what the problem is. Get tested, get an x-ray, get an MRI, whatever you need to do.
Absolutely. I know. It's scary to think like that. I think it is hopefully we don't have more issues down the road, but I think we're at that teeter point of our age.
Tell you what, girl, 45 has not been nice to me.
Might start to show up.
I feel like I'm 100.
Listen, my husband's 47. He just had a total hip, so let's talk about it.
Well, goes back to
but
sports,
his was elective.
right?
Yeah, his was elective. He was a catcher growing up, and
jeez.
Not like you. I'm so sorry, but his went perfect, and he's playing actually softball these days. So he's back. I know, right? He's back on the field. He's back to lifting.
Tell me what it's like.
So I have a success story for
Good.
you.
I've heard plenty of horror stories, and I'm sick of hearing those. So I want to hear more success stories.
Those are the good fuzzy kind.
Please. And I know, things have advanced technology-wise with surgeries and stuff.
Yeah. And he was miserable last year because that was just his hip pain, and he was walking like an old man. And he wanted to play sports. He wanted to lift. He wanted to run. He wanted to jump. And he wasn't able to do those things.
Okay, Kam, you're an only child. And you have an only child.
Yeah.
What have you sort of taught her based upon what your experiences was as an only child? Or did you try to do things differently now that you were an only child?
Well, this is wild because first of all, when I had my only child, I was the mom that was like, I'm never going to have an only child because I grew up an only child. And then my only child had a lot of colic. And it was just that whole first year.
By default, she's going to be an only child.
That whole first year was wild for me. And we kind of just decided that she was enough.
It's good birth control.
It was amazing. And that's at the time when I was traveling to LA too. So I was in the height of my career. And I'm not going to say it was a selfish decision, but there was a lot of factors that went into me saying, so my only child just became one. But that little baby has now grown up in front of my eyes, and she's a teenager now, and this world's it's different.
Scary.
It's very scary. And, I never thought I'd be the mom that would give her a cell phone, but here we are. She has a cell phone, and she reluctantly has Snapchat and the things that all the kids do. Because what I was finding out and realizing that she was finding a way to use those things if I wasn't going to give it. So,
Yep.
you can only hold back for so long. And right now, I can say that her and I have a great open relationship, that I know a lot of things that maybe her dad doesn't know, but she's trusting me with the things I want it to continue to be that open conversation and an open book. Because I think at 13, it's only going to get harder and harder as she gets into her high school years. And I want her to know
Yeah.
that I'm there.
That's awesome. And I think a lot of kids, teenagers especially, they have a hard time telling their parents certain things because they don't want to get in trouble.
No.
But I think if you can show that they can trust you and you're not going to flip your shit because they did something wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
That's been hard. It's really crazy because she is me. I call her my mini, and people know that. So affectionately, it's my mini me. And I'm a recovering and still by fault kind of a perfectionist. And I've raised one. And you can see how sometimes that holds you back. And whether it's with her schoolwork that she always wants to have perfect, or she gets so upset that it's not, or whether it's out on the field playing, she's a thinker, and so am I. And so it's now I'm kind of looking at myself at like, how can I help her and coach her a little differently so she can like rebound and be a little bit more resilient and take those like setbacks a little bit better.
What's the biggest challenge you've faced as a parent so far?
That's a deep question.
That you might be able to help someone watching that's also a parent.
Oh, I love that. I'm really thinking about it.
I know is a really loaded question.
It is loaded, and she's only 13, and she hasn't I think it's a day-to-day thing. I think the day-to-day actions is the biggest challenge in parenting, because you want to remain very even keel. You want to be their friend, but not too close of a friend, because you have to have boundaries and you have to set discipline. So I do think that that's the challenge, and it's constantly evolving.
Yeah.
So there hasn't been one thing. I'm really lucky to have a great kid, but I think it's the day-to-day to make sure that she remains on that path.
Keeps you on your toes.
And keeps, yeah, right?
I'm a father of 3 teenagers too. 2 of them are girls.
See.
So, yeah.
How old?
15, 17.
So you have the older
I have a
ones that have
19-year-old
gone
son.
through it.
Yep. They both have, well, one has a boyfriend officially. The other, I'm convinced, does, but we don't know for sure.
That's so interesting. Yeah. I mean, and like, I don't remember, but like now, yeah, the kids they date. I'm like, you're 13.
Yeah.
She's dating.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know what that means. And I don't think she does either.
I don't think it means the same thing as what it used to mean.
It doesn't.
No.
It's funny.
Do you ever worry about her friends in the friend circle that she has?
You know what? I love that you asked that. And I think, not to say that I've controlled the friend circle, but I think it's really important to keep my child busy. And I think like having her involved in sports, which was her chosen path, because when she was younger, she also danced and she did other things, but she chose to lean into her sports, and she stuck with soccer and softball. And I think it's really important. Then those are her friends, and it's kind of cool. And I feel like we're all a little bit lucky that I love the soccer parents and I love, the softball parents, and we get to travel together. So that's been so far her chosen circle.
Yeah.
And, but I do think that if you become in a bad circle, then things can go a different way. And who knows? And I think that that's where we go back to, like, it's going to ultimately be her decision. And hopefully that I can help influence and steer that. And I know that she's watching, she was at the game last night that we talked about. And, I think that that's a cool thing that she gets to see me interact with the high school athletes the way that I do. And they have involved her as part of their team as well. So I'm hoping she was inspired by that, by them being out on the field and them like making the big stage. And maybe one day she wants to do that too. And I feel like if we can continue to give her those big goals to strive for, then, her circle will remain intact.
Yeah. I'm sure she's proud of you, and I'm sure it's a lot more relatable being that she's pretty much the age of the kids that you've trained and the ones that won that championship. So
Yeah.
it's got to be a cool experience for her too.
I'm telling you, it's hard to train your own though.
It's totally different, isn't it?
Yeah, very
But if you
much.
hired someone to train her, she'd probably do
Which
it.
we do.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah, we
Why is it
definitely
different?
we lean into others. Yeah, she's not resistant to it, but I just think that it just goes much smoother.
Yeah.
And it's not that she doesn't listen to me, but she definitely listens to them a lot better.
There's that dynamic.
Yeah.
I'll never understand it. But yeah, I get it. And I've seen it too.
Right.
I know there's only so much a parent can do to control what your child does. And you did kind of touch on you can't give them too much resistance, and you can't kind of have them attached to chains either, because they're going to want to rebel. So how do you find the balance?
Trial and error.
Yeah.
I really, really, really think it is trial and error. And I'll be honest, and she knows this, I'm a little bit more hands-on, and I hover a little bit. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. I want to be in the know, and I want her to continue to tell me and to share with me. And then I'm becoming more aware to step back and give her her independence. And I'm starting to do that this year. So to relate to where she is in school, she's a 7th grader, so in middle school. And I do think like things are starting to change. That 7th grade age, a lot changes. Puberty happens, and kids are like, their personalities, they're coming into their own. So I think the balance lies in being able to trust her a little bit and maybe not make a bad mistake, hopefully, but being able to learn from those small mistakes that she's making to be able to pave it.
I was just going to say they need to make mistakes. And you hope they're not like making the news mistakes.
100%.
But you have to fail. As an adult, as a child, that's the only way you can really learn.
That's one of the biggest lessons that I've had, and that's what I said. Like I'm raising a little perfectionist, and I've had to teach her that it's okay. You don't have to get all A's. Do we want them? Yeah, that's the goal. But if you get a B, you're just going to be able to do better on the next one.
Is she hard on herself?
So hard.
Yeah.
And I do think that that comes from me too. I think that she looks up to me in a way that, like, you know, mom has done this or where I am, and I think that there's a little bit of pressure. And even dad, like, I mean, he was a college athlete. And so I think it's not pressure that we're putting on her. We always say that to her. But I think there's just an underlying pressure she puts on herself to perform for us.
Yeah. I think it's important that she knows that she's her own person too.
100%.
And she doesn't need to be mom, and she doesn't need to be dad. And she is writing her own story, right?
Yeah.
And she doesn't have to repeat everything that you guys did.
That's exactly right. And that's why we love soccer, actually, because neither of us played soccer. So we met playing co-ed softball. So her softball games are a little bit different to watch. He's actually a coach, and he stands on third base. And it's, you know, and I'm the mom that understands the plays and where you should go with the ball. Soccer, we've learned. And it's kind of, we've enjoyed being able to sit back and watch her grow into that on her own.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what offsides meant, and I still don't.
I mean, it took me years to understand what that
Soccer
meant.
offsides is really confusing.
It is weird. I mean, it's pretty much
I'm getting better.
the same as hockey,
Yes.
which
It's
once
still-
somebody kind of explained that to me, I'm like, oh gosh, it makes complete sense.
Right. Yeah.
All right, Cam, I don't know how many episodes you've watched or how far you made it, but we're going to arm wrestle.
What?
We do on every episode, and you are not chickening out. It's just for fun.
Okay.
It's just for fun. Do you want to put that back on the shelf?
Yeah.
We need all the space we can get.
No, because I watched your solo episode.
Yes, that's right. And you said that was the first impression you had of me,
Yep.
which was you saw me at my lowest.
No, I thought it was great.
All right, I'm going to move this, and I'm going to ask you a question
Okay.
as we arm wrestle. This is just for fun.
All right. I'm a little disappointed that I didn't wear my cutoff shirt because he gets to hang here with his good arm because I don't get to arm wrestle
This is my bad arm. We're not going to show it. That's why it's hidden back here.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Packing some heat. All right, let's go. I'm going to ask you a question as we do this.
I've been arm wrestling since
Since a 6th grade field trip.
seriously, since I played Red Rover.
You start whenever you're ready. Go ahead.
Oh wait, I have to provide resistance?
Yes.
I'm competitive.
Do
And this is
something.
not going to make me look good.
This is just for fun, Cam.
I don't do anything for fun.
Oh, so you can use 2 hands.
He said don't use 2 hands. I'm going to put it down.
All right.
I don't cheat either.
Cam, do you have any regrets in life?
Oh, no, I don't.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think I've been able to right the regrets.
You're fighting a good fight.
Well, yeah, we did lose.
I'll let you win off camera. So no regrets.
I think it goes back to the story. I've had many failures and many closed doors and many times where I could have closed the chapter. And many times people gave up on me. And I think that that's when I've just learned to pivot. And so regrets maybe last a little bit of time, but I've learned to give myself time to, whether it's grieve, have a pity party for myself and be upset. But then like eventually you have to brush yourself off and pick it up.
I love that. And I've asked that question a few times to a few of my guests, and I get different answers every time. Some actually have legit regrets, and I feel for them. Mm-hmm. The last thing I want to do is leave this planet with regrets, because that's something you just can't get back. Yeah. But I love the fact that you've learned from those failures and those
I think
mistakes,
you have to be able to accept
quote unquote.
it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Do you have any questions for me before we close out, Kam?
No, I don't. I've enjoyed my time with you.
None?
You're in the hot seat.
Let's go. You don't have to, but I want to give you the opportunity.
So you say that you are a personal trainer. So are you still training clients to this day?
I had to take 2.5 months off because of my recent health issues. I will start doing in-person sessions again, probably about 2 weeks from now.
Self-contractor that you do it in the gym? Or?
I do it in the gym. I do in-person sessions. I have my own fitness app, so I have clients set up on that. Yeah. If I'm not able to be there, they can follow along with a program and my videos of me doing the exercises.
And do you partner with a single gym, or do you have multiple that you have access to?
Well, I train out of A Planet Fitness, which I know you're not supposed to be able to, but I do, and you're not going to do anything about it. I used to train at a different gym. Background. Yeah, where it says no training allowed. I've taken a few selfies in front of that sign. For sure. I used to train at another gym, but they were charging me per session.
That's why I asked. I figured.
So I'm like, why would I give away my hard-earned money when I can do it elsewhere for free?
Right.
So.
Right.
But I'm taking 2 weeks for myself. I was back in the gym today for the first time in
big win.
2 months. Huge win. I need to work on myself physically and mentally for the most part before I tell someone how intense to work out and how many reps to do and how hard to push, because I don't want to feel like a hypocrite when I haven't done shit in 2 months. It's hard for me to push someone to that level. It just doesn't feel right.
I relate to that so much. I like to walk the walk too.
You know? Even
teaching my classes, I'm actually the one, I do it all. Yeah. Like I end up more sweaty than I should, but.
Yeah. I don't want to be that trainer that's just counting reps and texting on their phone, which I see plenty of those.
We're in the trenches with them.
Yeah. So in order for me to get back into the trenches with them, I need to build myself back up.
For sure. That makes sense.
So, but yeah, I'll be back soon to kick some butts.
There we go. You heard it.
Well, I've enjoyed our conversation, Kam. You are a multifaceted individual.
Thank you.
And you have many more chapters to write.
Hopefully.
And I can't wait for you to look back on this and see how far you've come since this point.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yep. Don't forget to watch one of these episodes and click the subscribe button. It's completely free. And I will see you on the next episode of Barbells and Bourbon. Peace. Sweet.
Good stuff.